All right, everybody, welcome back to Thirsty Thursday number 26. This is the official Fool's Day broadcast. So now we're back on April 1st, and we talked about this for a number of years, making this the official day of the Fool's chapter. We're very happy to have with us tonight, not only, of course, Bobby McGee. Ben can't be with us tonight, actually. He's at a Dungeons & Dragons convention, I think, somewhere up in Winnipeg, I'm pretty sure, but he'll be joining us again next time. But we actually have some of the founding fathers of the Fools chapter, as well as the current president of Fools International. So with that, Bobby, I'm going to kick it over to you. We'll go around the horn to all you guys. If you give a brief introduction, and we'll get this kicked off.
Thanks, Trevor. Welcome, everybody. This is really kind of an awesome experience for me. I think to talk about what the Fools means to me, being a member, I kind of got to talk about a little bit of my fire service history. So I started off as a volunteer firefighter here in the small state of Delaware. And I remember you had to have certain particular classes at the State Fire Academy to be able to wear an SCBA and go inside fires in my small fire department. And I remember going through the classes, and as you're nervous and all those types of things, I finished those classes up to the point that I could go inside of these fires. And I remember I just had this real sense that I didn't know what I was doing, generally. And I really had a hunger for some knowledge. And I felt, I knew they were letting me go inside these buildings, but I truly didn't know what I was doing. My first thing that kind of brought me out, and back in the 80s, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the networking. It just wasn't the same back then. Fire departments kind of all operate on their own deal back then. And so we didn't really have that communication going on. And the first thing I saw was I had I got fire engineering. And fire engineering was a great deal for me because it kind of talked about things that I wanted to learn. And it just so happened, just when I got in the fire service, it came out with that, they put a little insert in there of fire stream management. And I had some questions about that. And this was really straightforward, and it wasn't political. They just said what they thought was right and what was wrong. And but the problem with publications like that is they're fantastic, but you kind of get what you get when you buy them. Each month you get whatever the articles are and they go through it. When I started getting involved with Ocean City and had some years on me, Trevor, and who else founded that chapter with you, Trevor? I can't remember. But a bunch of, go ahead.
It was myself, J.D. Lawson, and Timmy Jershide.
There you go. So I didn't know anything about the Fools, and they were founding a chapter, and I'm Irish, and they said they were doing firefighter training and social, which is perfect for an Irish guy like me. So I right away just jumped right into it. And I think the first thing I learned was what happens when you pull your coin out and what happens when you don't bring your coin with you and those types of things. And for that point on, the Fools, through our experiences with Wichita, which I was kind of late getting there too, was you could see the improvement that could happen to firefighters outside of that framework of their own fire departments, that we could get together as groups and get together. And you guys are responsible for that. And the Fools have a very large influence in who I am today and where I am today. And I owe it all to you guys. So I'm really looking forward to have this conversation and hearing what you all have to say about all this. This is just a great, great group. And for those of you guys that are watching it, don't know what this is, look it up. If you don't have a chapter in your area, these guys will certainly help you get a chapter in your area to kind of grow this thing and pass it along. But it's well worth being in. And it's been a great experience for me and really helped me mold what I do today. So with that, I'll pass it over to Ben. If you want to do an intro, we'll kind of go around the horn.
Oh, I'm up. Well, yeah, my name is Ben Fleagle, and I'm the president of the Fools International. And as you were talking, Bobby, I was just reflecting on the fact that I encountered the Fools for the first time of all places. I was at the National Fire Academy for a course on fire communications, and there was a guy in the class that, at National Fire Academy, you have to wear polos and all the official clothing. And off duty, there was a guy wearing a shirt that it was Charlotte Metro Fools. And I had no idea what the Fools were. but I was intrigued by the T-shirt, and I liked the guy a lot. Everything about him just commanded my respect. And I asked him what Charlotte Metro Fools was, and his reply was, "Wouldn't you like to know?" Not in an arrogant way, but in a way that indicated, if you want to know, you need to find out. And there was this thing called the internet back then, and I was getting to know it, and I immediately went to it and started trying to figure out what that acronym meant. All these years later, 17, 18 years later, I'm in the EFO program, and I'm going back to Emmitsburg here in 2 weeks, and I'm the president of the Fools. And in my brain, that's just kind of hard to accept and figure out. It's a strange world. So I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to fit comfortably with the typical EFO crowd. My chief calls me a novelty, and I think I'll represent the international well, though. It's great to be here. As always, I'm humbled to be in the same room with Bart and Walt, guys that I've known now for years and that I consider the best of friends, and but also mentors. And I've stayed in Walt's home. I've been to countless events with Bart and seen him as he really is. And these are the most down to earth bunch of folks that could have ever started such an incredible organization. And that's the thing that I would like to say just as we start off here is that I'm a firefighter in Alaska. I didn't start there. I started in Orange County, California. But once I decided to stay in Alaska, I really began to realize how separated we were from the rest of the country. And 9/11 was tough for us in that we could not help. There was very little we could do about what the rest of you were suffering. And it wasn't until my first convention where I was able to convey that. And the Fool's response to me was to say that it doesn't matter how far away. The fact that you have come here to be with us, as Captain Dugan put it, to sit on the curb and knock back a glass of whiskey with him while he dealt with the things in his mind from that day. That was huge, and to be included in that and welcomed just on that premise, the fact that we're all equal in that we're willing to go down the dark hallway together. Those two eyes in that mask are all that counts. And so I've literally dedicated the rest of my career and my life to supporting this organization for that reason. And that's all I'll say about myself at the moment. But thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, brother. Walt, if you don't mind, give a quick intro, and then we'll kick it over to Bart.
Sounds good. It's kind of tough to follow Ben, but he did stay at our house. We were trying to rent it out, and best we could do is find this guy on the side of the road, looked cold and homeless. So we brought him back and let him stay with us for one of the giving conventions we had in Orlando. And he's got another room available to him if he wants to come down for the Orlando convention coming up. So, but my name's Walt Lewis. I'm a 25-year firefighter for the City of Orlando Fire Department, and currently at the rank of district chief. And this is my little girl, Peyton. Hello, I'm doing my podcast. Yes, ma'am. Here you go. You can have it back. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. So 25-year firefighter with Orlando Fire Department. And for 4 years prior, I worked at Palm Bay Fire Department with the next gentleman, Bart Simpson. And he was my training officer. And he was a pretty influential guy in our department. He brought in a lot of good progress, a lot of good tactics, a lot of good equipment, and was an unsung hero in that role. And then he moved on to a couple other places as I moved on to Orlando. And the fortune is we got the states close together in Central Florida. And through common friends, we were always hanging out and spending time together. And at one given point, we came up with the idea of creating this group called the Fools. And we'll get more into it in a little bit. But it too has been a blessing in my career, because there's times through your life that you're not as enthused as you used to be in doing certain things, whether it's playing hockey or working out or going to work. And the Fools was helpful in keeping me motivated and wanting to not lose sight of what makes it an enjoyable job, for the love of the job for which the Fools is advocated mostly on. And I haven't been as influential as other members. I've had peaks and valleys in my life that made me more valuable or more available at different times. But Bart and I had shared some rough times together. And like you'd said, it's those two eyes in the mask that are willing to be there with you in those darkest of times or those most challenging times. But the fire service as a whole gives us problems that are emotional, mental, and physical challenges, and they give you limited information in a short amount of time to try and solve the problem. And I love that puzzle they give us that we have to put together and give it back to them better than the way they gave it to us. And to help be a better person to do that, there were very few outlets many years ago to help you achieve that mission with success. And the Fools is probably one of the best organizations that's really prospered that idea so that you can get to where you want to be as a firefighter. And for that, I'm very proud to be an infinitesimal amount. I'm going to use some Kenny Ireland words as we talk, because he's not able to be here tonight, and sometimes he creates some confusement with some of his adorations. And but he's up enjoying his anniversary in the mountains with his beautiful wife Michelle, and we got a couple other members that aren't here with us tonight, but they send best wishes. Mike Stallings being one, and Mike Gilbert as well. But I'm going to break off there because, as my wife jokes, I have a 44,000 word per day minimum. And I've been home with the kids all day, so I'm at like 4,000 right now. And you all have a lot to go with.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief. John Bart Simpson, sir, if you would give us a little pedigree, and then we'll kick this show off.
Yeah, kind of go back a little bit of a history that when I moved to Florida is when the show The Simpsons came on, and one of the girls that I was dating, she was a dispatcher. She nicknamed me Bart, and it's funny how that carries on, because I think more people know me across the country by Bart than they know my real name. And half the time, if somebody calls me John, I don't even answer them. So, but I grew up 20 miles south of Pittsburgh, and I kind of started my fire service career in a township fire department called Peters Township, and actually started in 1979 when I was 16 years old. So I got the bug early. And so you guys do the math. I can't figure it out anymore. I lost track at 40-some years. So moved to Florida, and as Walt said, worked for a couple of different departments. And, we'll kind of get into the history of the Fools. But, we all kind of hung around together, and it kind of started out as a joke and, having a good time and having a couple adult beverages. And it's really blossomed into something that I never figured it would be. I kind of always thought it would be our little group in Central Florida. And I think, Ben, are we at 8,500 members or something across the country? Am I close?
Yeah, we're close to that. We're a little over 7,000.
Okay, so I think at one time we were a little bit more, and sometimes we were a little bit less. But just as Ben and Walt said, that we never expected the Fools to turn out the way it is. But with it being said, that we can all count on each other crawling down that dark, smoky hallway with our masks on. We would die for each other and everything else, and that's kind of what the Fools is about. But it's also kind of transferred into, as Walt said, some days we have that dark hallway that we're not at a fire, that that we have to deal with. And that's another reason that the Fools is so good, because we're here for each other. And there's countless members in the Fools that the Fools have saved their lives, and not through firefighting, but the brotherhood, and that the Fools have saved their career, their fire service career, because I know a couple people were ready to hang it up. And they got introduced to their local Fools chapter and went to a couple conventions, and it's saved their careers, some people's lives, and better firemen. And that's kind of I guess one of the reasons that we started it. We wanted people to be better firemen, take pride in tradition, in honor in the fire service, and we really stand for doing training, and we've always stood for training and to make ourselves better firemen. And when I say firemen, we have firewomen that are members of the Fools too, but we kind of use that generic term, and we early on we adopted Chief Croker's saying, from I think it was September 11th, 1911 or 1901.
01, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I believe it's 01.
Yes. So I was going through and trying to find my nice Fool shirt to wear. I didn't get dressed up like Ben and Walt and all those, but I went through a stack of my Fool shirts, and I happened to find that shirt. So that was pretty cool. And then Trevor put the saying that Chief Croker has put on there. That's what was on our early original Fool shirts. So I want to say thank you for having myself and Ben and Walt on there on the podcast, and look forward to a good evening with everybody.
Great, Bart. Well, thank you very much. And it's so funny that you brought that up. We were talking just before the broadcast went live, and you guys started this well over a quarter of a century ago. And I don't mean to make you feel older than what you already feel with your backs and shoulders and everything else, but that's impressive in itself. And I found my original Fool shirt before there were breakout chapters, and right on the front, on the front chest, it has the Chief Croker's quote in part, that I have no ambition in this world but one, and that is to be a fireman. And obviously people who've read that quote, it goes on to say, and I kind of paraphrase, about the greatest act of bravery is the first day that you sign up to be a firefighter. Everything after that is in the line of duty. And that's very true. I don't think that Ben actually kind of alluded to that a little bit too, that you could be on the most remote part of the earth, and it's about the brotherhood. We're there for each other, and getting re-energized. That's what it was all about. And come back to that in a few minutes about those people who, like Bart, like you said, was maybe looking about getting out of the fire service industry, or had become dismayed with it, or just they had lost the brotherhood, they had lost that focus, and the Fools chapters had really brought that back. So if you guys don't mind, could you just speak to what really? I know you said originally this kind of started as just a couple guys getting together and having a few adult beverages. Which, by the way, cheers everybody! Thirsty Thursday, welcome. Sláinte. But what made it for you guys? What made it transition from that small group that some people might call they're just a clique in the firehouse, or here's the go-getters, or the hut boys, as I've heard some people call the more energetic folks in the firehouse. But what made it for you guys transition from being that small group to a formal organization?
Actually, can I pause for 1 second there, Trevor?
Sure.
Thirsty Thursday, and we got an official Fool's toast. How about we start off with that real quick? Would that be cool?
Yep.
Is that right?
Think about Johnson while we're doing it.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear it.
So to Matty Johnson, he came up with this great toast. It's used in chapters all over the place. So the official Fool's toast: in the grips of death, we depend on sisters and brothers. Through smoke and fire, we protect each other. Our calling is clear, we shall not wander. When protecting life, it's death before dishonor. And here and now, we raise our glass, a toast to the fallen heroes of the past. Tradition, brotherhood, duty forever. For this could be our last drink together. Sláinte.
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 So a little shout out to Maddie for coming up with that gem.
Absolutely, brother, and thank you for sharing that with us and everybody here who may have never heard that before. Something definitely to look into. But yeah, you want to carry on from there with the genesis of this whole thing and where we are today.
Somebody's breaking up.
Yeah, I don't know who's talking.
All right. Well, I'll kind of start. I don't know if it's Walt that's breaking up or, kind of the little history that the founders all ran around together. We all kind of seemed to have leather helmets and everything else. And if I remember correctly, we started out that, I think it was Mike Stallings that came out and goes, "Yeah, look at us. We're a bunch of fools." And then the acronym came down, and we wrote that down. And then I think it kind of progressed into the Orlando guys got a big group of guys together, and we used to go downtown Orlando. And then it kind of came as the joke of, "Oh, we're having a Fools convention in Orlando." And there was probably 30 or 40 of us at one time. I think the last one there, Walt.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, we'd amass you add beer and firefighters, we're gonna amass the numbers. But it wasn't uncommon for us to be called fools by the other 90%. I mean, we were the 10% that went to classes on our own, that went to training on our own, set up training for each other, talked fire stuff, advocated talking tactics and learning from other agencies, riding at FDNY, Chicago, Detroit, going to learn to see what the other people do that fight fire often and what can we do to make ourselves better. And we were admonished, you guys are a bunch of fools for spending your own money going to these classes. And then we heard this back when I was in Palm Bay days. So, you guys are a bunch of fools for going to, paying for these extra classes. You're never going to do that here. It's eventually it kind of stuck. It's like, you know what, let's wear it like a flag of honor. And Stallings, being the genius he is, he's like, Fraternal Order of Leatherheads. And a little bit of a joke that it actually stuck, and it makes total sense. And even at first when we started, the leather helmet was required, and we quickly had got rid of that because there's plenty of agencies that won't allow the leather helmet. It doesn't dissuade good firefighters from working there. So we abolished that idea, and then stuck with the idea of staying with the fools and being proof to it. And even early on, we got countered with, and I had to laugh. We talked earlier about Chad Cox and the Wichita Fools visiting there early on. They had a group that was countering the fools called the Loafs, the League of Average Firefighters. And if they could just put their powers to good, they would actually probably be a little bit better than where they were. But there's always somebody else that wants to cast a stone at you. And typically people that will criticize you are the ones that do the least. So we took it as a badge of honor and advocated from there on. And it just proved the concept that it's okay to be good at your job. It's okay to want to be good so you can go home to see your families, so you can be satisfied with the job performance you gave, and so that you can work to help promote others to be that good. Because if they're that good, you likely will go home from the bad events when they happen. And it may never in your career, or it might be the next call. But do you want to take the chance? We don't. We want to be good. So I love what it's become, and it's gone from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief. Ben, I know that you as the current president, you have a lot of, you're standing on a lot of shoulders. You have some big shoes to fill, and you've done it very, very well. What are some of the challenges that you're facing right now? I know we've had COVID that's really hampered our abilities to meet, to train, to do a lot of things. So what are some things that you've done to try to keep this, great history of ours alive, which you've obviously done well, but what are some things that you've done and some of the challenges you've come up with? Yes.
Well, really, we've been building on some of the things that we had started under Richie, because we have to keep in mind I'm only the third president of the Fools, and we're a very young organization as far as fraternal organizations go, and we're coming into our own at a time when our society is rapidly changing. So even the word fraternal causes problems when dealing with some of the issues in the firehouse today. So some of the things that have come about is we have a very very high quality PowerPoint we've put together on the history of the Fools, because we began to realize that time was passing and people didn't know who the founders were, and that's actually a very big deal to the e-board, that people would not know who our founders were. So that's something that was established. The venerable Kegman from convention, which is not about drinking so much as it is about just the history of the convention, has been retired from service and no longer has to travel the country because it costs probably anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to ship it to convention. So it's going to be memorialized in the coming years. We've created a podcast to communicate with our presidents, to the general membership as well, but our target is the presidents, to help them with some of the administrative challenges that come with maintaining a chapter. And we're taking on texting, I don't even know what to call it, new technology. We're grappling with it because we're competing with communication styles that are so intense. Getting your message through is very difficult, which, Trevor, I'm sure you're finding is an aspect of what you're doing here. You're competing with so many podcasts and so many webcasts that how do you stand out to be heard? And we're having that problem with our chapter presidents, because chapter presidents are often the type A personality and they've got a million things they're doing, and taking time to stop and listen to the e-board talk about how to run their chapter is not on the top of the priority list. So we're trying to find new ways to communicate with them. I've been having Zoom meetings similar to this with chapters around the country to introduce myself and talk about these issues and find out what's important to the membership, especially with the absence of the convention. And then we're playing around with social media, trying to find the right pathway to stay current and relevant. And some of the things we were talking about before we went live, it was as if you were right here next to me as I was writing down my thoughts, because I wrote down some personal goals that are on my mind continually, and I'll just point some of those out. The organization grew extremely large. When I became secretary, I think it had just gone from being roughly 14,000 members down to about 8. And over history, there's been over 20,000 members. Now we're down to about 7,000 members. We've gone from 185 chapters to roughly 145, 150. And that's just cleaning house, allowing chapters that no longer had the ability to function because of retirements and changes in their leadership to pass away and to maybe come back again, renewed with a new e-board. We've been cleaning the house and just tidying things up. So as we're doing that, we're asking ourselves, where is the leadership of the international for the future? And that's a critical question, because the things you were talking about earlier, the fact that we've all got firefighters working with us that weren't alive during 9/11, or we're so young they just don't know much about it. We have people working with us that don't understand the need for an organization like this. They're grappling with problems that they don't even yet understand. The emergence of suicide is a major factor in our lives. Carcinogens that we've been wedded to for our whole careers. The passing of firefighters that really created our value system as they've moved on out of the fire service. And you begin to, from our perspective now, I think all of us have got a little gray hair going. We're beginning to realize that's the normal course of events. And if we value these things as much as we have said we do, we have to find a way to preserve it into the future generation. And the future generation is extremely different from us. Not so much because they're, the personalities, but because of the way they learn, because of the stressors that they have to deal with that we didn't have to encounter. Our transition was from the tailboard to sitting in the cab. Theirs is it even going to involve a cab when technology is done with their job? So how do I prepare the fools for that in the coming decades? And so we're grappling with those issues. We're trying to find ways to create a succession plan, to find my replacement, to find another quality treasurer like the one we have now, whose ethics and integrity are impeccable. How do we expand our ability to communicate in this competitive environment? Those are the things we're grappling with. Our values haven't changed, but how are they going to sound to the young generation? And those are that stuff's in my mind constantly whenever I think of the fools. So I don't know if that answers your question, but those are some of the thoughts that were on my mind. We're the warrior poets, as Bobby Halton called us years ago. We're the warrior poets of the fire service, and we're committed to that role. And I think it's a very valid role. And it's a matter of finding the right people to step up and take over for us when the time comes.
Absolutely, Ben. And thanks for sharing that with us. And truer words probably haven't been said. We look at what we can do as leaders, and we always want to have the self gratification of seeing the results of what we're doing in the industry. And for these, some of the other guys on the screen right now who started this over a quarter century ago, and not even imagining it could be where it is today. We have to look at the influence that we actually have on people, whether intended or not. And that level of leadership, whether you're a positional leader or whether you just happen to be somebody in a position of authority or even a senior guy or somebody with a good idea. And I go back even to the history of the Ocean City chapter, which I had the privilege of being one of the president of that chapter for a while as well. And we were the first breakout chapter of the Fools International. We had met some of the guys. I remember back in '97. And I wish I could remember which one, probably a little hazy at the bar, but you're meeting these guys and, oh, wow, this is a cool thing these Central Florida guys have going on. It's really about the brotherhood. And we had something similar in Ocean City where the North End guys in the city, we were the ones who were out training and, oh, who the hell do you guys think you are? And we were getting just slammed constantly for being go-getters and going to classes and doing things that weren't mandated. And, we were those guys. And we actually, like Walt was saying, we took it as a badge of honor, and I guess the FCC will give me one, but this one of our senior people in the department at that time called us a bunch of North End dickheads, and so he said, "Oh yeah, that North End dickhead club up there at 74th Street." Well, we loved it, so we had T-shirts made with any DHC, and so we kind of grabbed that and we were proud of that. We were proud to be called that. And so instead of being a slam, we're like, yeah, we are those guys because we're the ones that were out throwing ladders at 3 o'clock in the morning. If we didn't feel that we did a good job on that last call, we were only as good as that last call, we were doing that. So I want to kind of throw it back to Walt and Bart is to look at where you started your career, and obviously very very earlier on in your career you started the Fools chapters to where you are now as people with authority in the industry. Not only from a teaching aspect, but also departmental. And just talk about that level of influence for a minute. And even the smallest thing that you might say, and again, this is something we talked about just prior to coming live, is I was out at, we took this from the guys at Staff and Command. Some years later, we saw some folks wearing T-shirts, I think it was 2001 out at FDIC, and said, hey, we'd love to join into that. And they let a bunch of ragtag guys from around the country join up to their Central Florida chapter, and we wanted to do our own thing. So, but we said you can't do anything other than replicate what's already great and successful. And Ocean City was the first breakout chapter. That's why we call ourselves the Alpha chapter of the Fools. Met a guy out in New Mexico at bomb school. Some guy from Kansas I'd never met before in my life, and he went back. He saw a Fools T-shirt. Hey, I've heard about this. This is great. Went back and started the Wichita Fools chapter. Chad Cox and some of him and some of his buddies. So, Walt and Bart, if you guys don't mind, could you just really talk about that? Whether it was foreseen or unforeseen, that level of influence that you had, over getting these chapters started, and what kind of led you to the decision to let folks like us in Ocean City start that breakout chapter, and whether that if you ever kind of questioned that idea or even thought it would be valid, or where it went from then till now.
Bart, you want to go or you want me to take it?
Hey, you can take it.
So we just put a name to something that was already there. I mean, guys loved the business before we showed up, and they'll love it after we're gone. So, you wouldn't have changed Trevor Stedman's interest in the business and enthusiasm of performing better on the next call. We just came up with a nickname or moniker, and it stuck. And then with that, we were all able to identify to the one thing rather than the lots of things that we each did as individuals or smaller groups and smaller factions. So the credit, I mean, I hate being given any kind of credit towards we just kind of collaborated. We really, and brought stuff together. And I'm really impressed to hear Ben talking about what we're doing for the future, because some of us that are, helped put this together, were feeding horses when we started the firefighting business. And here we are, moving on to Instagram and other methods of sharing technology with the new future of fire service. So to see such a change and to be a part of it, it's pretty impressive. But we were just wanting to share the ability to have a network. I mean, it's truly a fraternal organization, so that you could be in a collective group of people of like minds that are as enthusiastic, that want to do well, and you could be the one in your agency. You could be one of 100 in your agency, however it is, that you can be okay with being good. And, I've mentioned it before, but we wanted others to realize their passion was not alone. So by creating this and advocating it, other people sprouting up around the country at one given point. You'd mentioned that the Alpha chapter came about because we couldn't be everywhere to talk to guys and help share the ideas and spread the word. So when you guys brought up the idea of creating the breakout chapter, the lights went on. Of course, that's a great idea. And then other chapters started sprouting, and it's just easier to back off and let everybody manage locally and us be able to work with. And then the idea of, wouldn't it be great to have conventions and go places? Tampa F.O.O.L.S set us up, South Florida F.O.O.L.S, Charlotte Metro F.O.O.L.S. I appreciate that this year they're doing the Central Florida F.O.O.L.S to make it easy for me to go again. It's, we're coming back to Florida. So it's a lot of great people involved in a great organization that will have ebb and flow, and it will always sustain, I think, as long as there's a love for the job. But it is up to us to share the mission and share the words so that we can help encourage others that maybe feel admonished or don't get the support where they live, that it's okay to be good at their job, but they can by being a part of this organization. And I'm no wonderment to the fire service. I'm very motivated. I'm very excited. I love sharing things that I've learned, and I've learned some of those things the hard way, and I don't want those to be repeated for somebody that can pick it up from a lesson I can pass on. But the fire service is a great organization. It's definitely there as a serving organization for the people, and I can't think of a better way to show God's love in serving humans in their most vulnerable hour, their most vulnerable point where they cannot take care of themselves. We can show up as a banded unit and solve the problem and not admonish them or make them belittle them for not being able to take care of it themselves. We show up, give them the helping hand, get them back on their feet or move them in the right direction and help solve the problem, go to the next one and get to do it again. So fulfillment is the one thing that we get out of the business that we should be able to always achieve. And if we don't get that, we shouldn't allow somebody else to steal that from us. So if it's the outside forces that prevent you from wanting to be good at this business, here's a way to connect with others that do and be able to keep that passion alive.
And brother, again, just your very wise words. That was one of the beautiful things. I want to kick it over to Bart and Bobby as well and get their thoughts on this. One of the beautiful things about the F.O.O.L.S was it didn't matter what your collar pins looked like. It didn't matter your longevity in the fire service. It was about sharing that information and trying to make us better at our trade. And it wasn't the egos, the attitudes, the collective bargaining agreements, the this, that, the work politics. And there were people in the F.O.O.L.S chapter that you may disagree with on a occupational basis, a theoretical, a tactical basis, or anything else. But when it came down to it, that was your brother Fool. And that was always the focus of it. And I think that was one of the greatest things that's been maintained, not only from what you all started, but what Ben's continuing that great tradition today, is that collectively we have that fraternity of our brothers and sisters that will come together, they'll share information. And when we go to teach in places, and Bobby, I've said this about you before you came on, one of the greatest things about working with it within the Fools chapters, and we go kind of do a co-op and help each other, we never go really to teach anybody anything. We go to share what we know and what we don't know and say, hey, this is what I've been through. This is what worked for me. This may or may not work for you. But it's all about that brotherhood and sisterhood in the fire service. So, Bobby and Bart, I know you guys feel definitely the same way, and Bobby, especially from a training perspective. What are some of the things that you're looking at from not only previous but going forward that we can apply some of these standards that have been tried and true, especially in a day or in today's fire service where it becomes a little bit more challenging, where sometimes that brotherhood and that thought process is getting a little bit lost?
So if I just throw in a little kind of a history, I think that the pivotal moment in the Fools was at FDIC. Most of us remember we decided we were going to have a little get together in the basement of, I want to say the Radisson, but that's not the right hotel. But I happened to stumble upon the picture because there's a lot of friendly faces, and some of those guys are with us and some still are not with us. But I think that was a pivotal moment. I know for me that we filled up this room. We had a bunch of firemen together. We were having a good time. We were talking brotherhood, talking about the job. And, after a while, I had to go to the bathroom. So the bathroom, there was a line in the men's room to get downstairs. So I walked up the stairs, and in an amazement, there was a line up the stairs, out the door, and down the sidewalk in front of the other side of the hotel. And it was kind of just amazing that, there were so many people that wanted to, see what we were about, to share the brotherhood and just have a good group of people that they're like-minded. And, I think we went through a couple kegs and we had to go steal one somewhere, maybe across the street, or beg, borrow, and steal, or whatever. But that was a pivotal moment that I think in the international history, that having that little get together. And I think that's what changed us to that. Once we got more people involved in it, that we decided that we're going to have chapters across the country and everything else. And it kind of, I guess a little bit was a self-driven car that, the need came up, and we kind of, put a driver behind the wheel and said, this is the way we're going to go, and it really took off from there. And, kind of going into part of your other question, Trevor, we all kind of have the naysayers and the people that are just there for the job and everything else. But I think as being a Fools member and we're the brotherhood is what keeps a lot of people going. And, we every department has them and everything else. And we just kind of, I guess, got to keep that even keel, that ship in the right direction, because, we could turn left at Albuquerque or make a right-hand turn somewhere and, kind of overturn the ship. But I think the Fools kind of keep a lot of people on that even keel and give them a little bit of guidance of where to go in the future. That, there is a true brotherhood that stands for, we stand for each other, and, training that no matter what everybody says, and, we all heard it and still hear it today, that's, you shouldn't go to those classes. You're wasting your money. You could go out and buy a new gun. You could go buy a car or whatever, but you're just pissing your money away. I plan on getting out of here and, get my 25 years and get the hell out of here. And, for those who are really passionate about the fire service and like Walt said, what our calling is to serve the people. A lot of people forget about that side of the job. Is some people it's just a job, but to us it's more. We care about the people that we have to take care of, whether it's a medical call or a fire call or whatever. And I think across the country that Fools members take that extra step to preserving people's property or taking care of them maybe a little bit better than just the average Joe firefighter. And I think that's what we have to keep. Like Ben said, we're keeping our traditions alive and what we've stood for the last 25 years, and hopefully another 25 years, is take pride, honor, and tradition in our job. And I hate to use the word job anymore. In our fire service careers, I guess, whether it, we have people that are volunteers, and I know some volunteers that are more dedicated than half the career guys that I have working in my department. And we just, I think the Fools is the catalyst to keep that going. And as we get older, hopefully that we're passing that information on and passing the foundation of the Fools on to them to make them better firemen. And the ultimate goal is, for us to come home safely and to take care of the people that we're sworn to serve. So.
Absolutely, brother. And Bobby, I'm going to kick it over to you real quick. One of the things I always thought about when I went to any of the Fools, whether it was hot classes or even just meeting out in Indianapolis, you might see each other once a year, but these are the people that it's like you just saw them yesterday. They're your brothers and sisters, and you laugh together, you cry together, you party together, you pray together. I mean, it's just that's what it's all about. And I always said that those events were my shot of redemption, my re-energizing in the fire service every year, because you get to these places, whether it's FDIC with 30 to 50,000 participants or a small hands-on training conference with 30 guys, then you're like, wow, this is what it's all about, because now there's all these people who think like I do, have the same passion, the same outlook, and have the same belief, not only in what we do, but why we do what we do and that level of service. And Bobby, I know you're really big on that as well, about not looking so much internally at what our needs are, in the fire service, but also for the people we serve. So, if you don't mind, Bobby, could you take it for a couple seconds and give us your thoughts on that part?
Yeah, sure. I think Ben talked about it earlier. He said, we have this competition of podcasts and webcasts and all these types of things out here. I think Trevor and we welcome it all. We think, if you watch this show and you get something out, that's fantastic. And if someone else put something out there, we think that's great too. And there's a lot of really good ones out there. So it lends us to think, why the Fools? For all the people watching, thinking about it, why have a chapter here? Why do this? And so with over 33 years of experience, what I can tell them is that, organizations, Ben was talking about the ups and downs, and I think Walt and Bart were both talking about ups and downs of the Fools. The membership goes up, the membership goes down. Well, every organization that we work for, we volunteer for, they have ups and downs too. And sometimes there's budget constraints and they can't have training anymore. And sometimes the leadership isn't quite what a really motivated firefighter would want to have, but they're working there or they're volunteering there or whatever. As a member of the IFF, it kind of links us together at some level, but there's a lot of other things going on that the IFF worries about that has really nothing to do with training. And then that would leave out our volunteer brothers and sisters and those that don't have actual IFF chapters. So this is where the Fools fits in, is no matter where you are in your agency, you don't have enough money to have good training, you don't have the right facilities to have good training, you don't have the leadership to give you good training. Here the Fools sits and says, listen, network with us. we'll go out there. I mean, I don't hold a candle to Wichita. Wichita, those guys spend a lot of their own money going all over the place teaching under the banner of Fools. I mean, I think they've gone as far as how far, Trevor? I mean, probably, I don't know, the southeast of the U.S., all over the place. And so what I see the Fools group as is a simple way to get your guys together that want to get really good quality training and have really great people to network with. So that's really kind of where I see the Fools at, because, you know, the fellowship, the having beers together is really a fantastic time, and we're really good at that. But, man, there's nothing better than having a 3-hour or a 6-hour training class and then having happy hour. It just is so much more accomplishing for the dedicated firefighters in our group. The Fools is the one group, I think, that can meet those expectations. Now, as chapters, we sometimes fall short of providing what we probably should provide to the members around us. And we have to work on that, do some soul searching ourselves. As I listen to you guys talk, I started thinking about that a little bit. So, you know, we're really not doing, and when I say we, I should talk about me, because probably other guys in my organization are trying harder than I am. But we should really start reaching out post COVID. We need to put this. We need to put the shambles back together. It's not our fault. It is what it is. We just haven't been able to train, so we've been doing lots of Zoom and stuff like that. But Zoom doesn't hold a candle to hands-on. Putting your hands on the Halligan bar, to pulling a hand line, doing those types of things. And as an Irish guy, afterwards having a cup of cold drinks with them guys is just like, it's my heaven, you know. And so those guys looking around, there's all kinds of things going on, but this is the one group. If you're a volunteer, if you work in a fire department that's not union, if you're union, if you don't have leadership, this is a group where these guys come together. It all started in Florida, and they come together and say, hey, we'll give you some ideas. We'll give you some ways. And if it's just one person out of that fire department gets something out of it, that's great. So that's kind of my thought process with the Fools. You know, and the brotherhood is very big. I mean, when my mother died, I'll never forget the whole group of, I think, 50 or 60 guys in Ocean City in the convention. I was the day before her funeral, or maybe the day of her funeral. They all cheered my mom. You know, and that is the crux of the Fools. I mean, we've worked with the National Fallen Firefighters. We've worked with a lot of really fantastic other groups out there to provide training, and this is the group that does it. So thank you guys for starting this thing. Thank you, Ben, for leading this thing. I can give you nothing but a bunch of love, brotherhood, and appreciation for what you all have created. And now it's our jobs individually to make this thing bigger and better and a better quality deal. So thanks, Trevor. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Bobby, and thank you. I've had the privilege of not only working with Bobby, but actually traveling around the country with him. And love you to death, brother. But I tell you what, you wear me out, I got to say. But Ben, real quick, I want to kick it back over to you, and we're going to start having to wind down here in a few minutes. The original guys, Bart, Walt, Mike, all those other guys who were with us probably could never have conceptualized how much influence they would have. And I know they're very humble about this, but we've seen the acronyms start to pop up about do the right thing and remember fallen brothers, and now it's expanded out, and of course each individual chapter has their own things. But what are some of the meanings? Not so much phonetically or directly with them, but when we talk about some of these acronyms that we put on ourselves just as daily reminders, and that ability to kind of whisper good counsel to each other, that if we start kind of getting off path a little bit and say, hey man, DTRT, RFB. So what do some of those things mean to you as a leader of the international right now, and trying to get that message out to some of our folks? How do you look at some of those acronyms, and what would you add to it if you could?
I don't know that I can find the words for adding to it, but let me step back and answer your first question. The acronyms I wear around my wrist because I never want them to be far from me. Because as I was mentioning, when I looked up the Fools back at at Emmitsburg, it was back in 2003, and I read the definition of a Leatherhead, and I read the acronyms. I thought that's me. That's my heart. I get choked up about it even now. Every time I talk about it, as I read that, I just realized this organization is describing my heart. And so for me, the acronyms, all of them, uh, they are a prescription for how to make decisions, how to choose the right thing, how to take the right actions when the chips are down and things are not going well, or when everything appears to be going well, but under the surface, you're having to make some difficult choices. Um, whether it's DTRT, which is something that you just hammer into your head at that critical moment when you have to choose, or keeping the faith, which literally is sitting on the curb next to someone who just needs you to listen.
Yeah.
In those moments when we're not in the dark hallway, as Walt and Bart referred to, dealing with the other dark that we have after so many years of this job. RFB, teaching each other to stand for those who have gone. All of these acronyms have deep meaning, and so if I would add anything, the concept that I have in my head is that it really isn't about chapters, although that is the expression of organization that it's taken on. What it really is it's a way of life within the fire service, and I think that's what caused Bobby to call it a warrior poet. Is we're living full tilt these values that the fire service professes, and trying to make it as real as possible within our own performance of the career. And I don't know that there are words for that adequately express it. I'm like Walt, I'm a deeply faithful person. God is with me at all times, and I am blessed to pursue this career that focuses on life saving, which is something that God invented. But the danger of being so passionate about the Fools is that it is almost a religion that could displace the true religion that I observe in my soul. So, at times I look at who I am as a firefighter and who I am attending services on Sunday morning, and I have a hard time reconciling the two, except for that I know that the grace of God allows me to perform this job and to love the firefighters I serve with in a way that is perhaps uncomfortable for the people in the pew next to me. And they don't have to understand. It's understood by you guys. For example, probably the brother I love most, he grabbed me one time. We were talking about a difficult topic in his life, and he took my hand. He took his hands and he grabbed my face like this, and he said, "You are a man that I love." And what he was talking about is literally we were standing on two different sides of a fence, and he knew that fence was not a barrier to the love between us, and that I wouldn't allow it to be. That is what we are about, and that's who we are with each other. And I don't think the fire service, I don't think our nation can do without that. Someone has to be holding things together. And when all is said and done, when walls are tumbling in our streets and our own nation is pulling itself apart, it shall not be the fire service. We've got to hold each other together. And we fools are a reflection of the fabric that holds us together. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. I don't know how to make that an acronym.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a lot to put on the back of a T-shirt, but I mean that's very poignant to what we do. And if you don't mind, real quick before we start wrapping up, I just kind of want to share something with you on that same line. Recently, I saw and I'm not a technology guy, so and Ben Waples isn't here to support me on the tech part. Bobby, you make fun of me because I'm still a knuckle dragging Android guy, but I saw I guess it's a video clip or a meme. Already, Bob. But it applies to the fire service just as well, but it was actually a meme for veterans. And so I'll put it in the fire service terms, if you will. But if you imagine a firefighter who's fallen through a floor and is trapped in a basement, and they're alone, they're in despair, they need help. And, long story short, the timeline is that a psychologist comes along and sticks her head down in the hole to the basement and says, "Hey, firefighter, try these stress reduction techniques. I'll check back with you in a week. Make sure you're okay." And then a few minutes later, a psychiatrist comes along and says, "Hey, take these pills one time a day for 7 days. I'll check back with you in a week." And then a little bit later on, a firefighter comes by and sticks his head down in the hole, sees his brother down there at the bottom of this basement, bottom of this pit, and jumps in with him. And the firefighter who was in the bottom of the pit said, "What the hell's wrong with you? Why would you jump in the pit? Now we're both stuck down here." He goes, "No, brother, I've been here before. I know the way out." So, that's kind of where we are, in that with the Fools, because we look at each other, not only from training, networking, but we believe in what we do, not only as an organization, but as a duty and a calling. And we want to be better at everything that we do. So, I can't really express my appreciation for not only what Walt and Bart and those other guys started back in the early to mid 90s and where you've taken it today, Ben, but we've gotten to a point now where we need to pass this along to some of this newer generation who's actually really hungry for some of these things. And again, quickly, I have a lot of we're kind of a stepping stone department where I am right now because we're small. We have somewhat limited things that we can offer, and that's okay. That's just where we are in the universe. And I have a lot of my former firefighters who will come back just to do training, which is phenomenal. To me, that's that's a great compliment, if you will. And I had one recently who probably left about 3 years ago, and he's got a captain he works for. He said, "Captain's a great guy, but the captain knows what he knows and doesn't want to know anything other than that. And he feels stuck. He feels like he can't progress." Bobby, I used you as the example. I said, my brother Bobby, he's the guy that if he's the only one out on the side of the fire station, throwing ladders, pulling lines, rigging a Z-rig, whatever the case is, he's going to go out and do it. I said, be that guy, because it might not pay off today, tomorrow, next week, next month. You will be the go-to guy. There'll be the people that they look to you and say, "Wow, this guy's about the job." You're at a temporary plateau. Don't let it discourage you. As much as it sucks right now, do the right thing. Stay the course. Remember the fallen brothers. Remember the people that were behind you. And so those are all the things that's not something that I came up with in my mind. Those were things that were really ingrained in me from my membership and my affiliation with the Fools chapters. And again, thank you very much, Walt, Bart, and the rest of you guys. But we're at about 7 minutes after the hour, and I want to go ahead and go around the horn one more time, see if you guys have any closing thoughts. So with that, Bobby, let me start with you, and then we'll kick it off to our guests and have them wind up, and we'll get out of here.
I won't take very long. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on. It's a pleasure meeting you. I'm sure we'll meet again somewhere and have a nice cold, toasty beverage. I think that this organization is great. Is there a way to share how to get in touch with these guys? They will do a chapter or something, Trevor, before we leave. But I just want to say thank you to you guys, and search up the Fools if we can't find it. And it'll be on our website, right, Trevor? He don't know. We'll talk to Ben. I'll tell Ben to put it on the website. How about that? But thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Ben, if you don't mind giving some closing comments, then we'll kick it off to Walt and Bart, and then I'll wrap this up for us.
I think I've said quite enough tonight, but anyone wanting to start a chapter can come to our website. We also have an Instagram account. We've got a Twitter account. You can find us in all those formats. We have a podcast now on iTunes and through, I think it's Google. It's a Buzzsprout product, and we're always reaching out, and we're quick to guide people in the way to establish a chapter and get something going in their community. But the website is the first place to go, foolsinternational.com. And I am so thankful and honored to have been here with these stellar brothers that I truly dearly love. And thanks for including me. And with that, I'm done.
Awesome, Ben. Thank you so much, and thanks for your leadership. And if I could make one suggestion, is that we need to make April 1st the official Fool's Day holiday. So once this COVID crap gets done, we need to start celebrating that with some hot training or whatever else we come up with, whether it's fundraising, training, just a brotherhood bash, whatever we need to do. But that is going to be a formal recommendation I will send up to your level, sir.
I like that idea. Go ahead and send it. I'll run it out.
All right, it's coming to you hot. All right, Bart, take us out of here. Give us some closing thoughts.
Again, thanks for having us on, and I always enjoy talking about the Fools, the brotherhood, and what we're all about, and just for the younger guys to look into what the Fools is, and we need people to carry on our tradition and the pride and continue training. And we all have those dark moments in our career, and just like Trevor said, that it might not seem like it pays off right now, but down the road it will always pay off. And be true to the brotherhood, and take care of each other, and long live the Fools.
Absolutely, brother. Walt, you're up.
All right, just making sure I was still on. I sent Ben a message to make sure for me there. So there were a couple of guests that couldn't be here tonight, part of the Fools Executive Board Emeritus, so the International Board. So Mike Stallings, Mike Gilbert, Tommy Redmond, Ken Ireland, and then a couple other names that were very instrumental in getting our organization off the ground and putting it in the right slots and making it happen like they did. Dick and Ellen Brown. Ellen was tremendous in helping organize the organization. So they certainly deserve, some mention and shout out, and hope they're doing well in Tennessee. And also a very instrumental person that really helped us get some strong perspective and really advocate training and give us a solid name was Mike Dugan. Captain Dugan, Ladder 123, New York, retired, and just some solid individuals. And there's so many more to name. Of course, Ben mentioned he's the third president amongst the executive board. The presidency passed around. Mike Gilbert and Mike Stallings were presidents at given times, but also Eric DePoto was one of our first presidents outside of the executive board, and then Richie Stack, and then now Ben Fleagle, and each have done great jobs helping carry on an organization that is truly a fraternity to help anyone, and the mission is to help anyone that wants to be a good firefighter be better. So it's something that's I'm very proud to be a part of, and I love the connectivity and the ability to communicate like this. So for that, thank you very much for allowing us to share the message and be a part of this. It has put us in places where I couldn't be more proud to be a part of.
Absolutely, Chief. Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this. Oh, go ahead.
Call me Chief. Call me Walt.
I know. I was trying to show that. I was going to put out a silver alert for you when you went off the screen a little while ago, but you came back, so I'm happy now. But guys, just want to say thank you very, very much for coming and joining us tonight. This is something that we do every other Thursday just to try to get some information out. I'm sure we'll talk to you again. And anybody who's viewing this, whether it's live tonight or later on down the road, please reach out if you're a little bit frustrated in the fire service. Like we said, sometimes you have those peaks and valleys, those highs and lows, but you can always grow down in the valleys. And this is an organization that has really kept me energized over the years. And even coming from the chapter in the Mid-Atlantic down here to South Florida, and as active as these guys were, they welcomed me with open arms like they had known me forever. And well, a couple of them actually had, but that was probably through the clot at Indianapolis. But nevertheless, great group. Thank you, not only to Walt and Bart, but for the other guys who were instrumental in this, getting this started, and really, really thank you for the legacy that you've left us and continue to give us in the fire service to make sure that we promote not only training but also the good works that we do, and keeping our brotherhood and sisterhood together. Ben, thank you for carrying the torch, and as always, and going forward with this organization. And I look forward to this prospering for many years to come. Bobby, love you, brother. So cheers, everybody, and please join us 2 Thursdays from now. We'll throw the topic out to you. And again, we wish Ben Fleagle the best of luck in his Dungeons & Dragons tournament. He actually put something up earlier that I think they came in last place, but hey, brother, maybe next time. So with that, cheers, everybody. Stay safe, and good luck. God bless.
Good night.